Well, hello there. Ah. So, mm, mm. You know what? Let's discuss what just was announced this week because I'm late to work. That's how much this is kind of an announcement. Um, and the next few videos I was planning on doing were going to be like some first to fives and some other battle content before I actually sell my PlayStation this month. Uh, I still plan on selling it. Don't get me wrong, because this announcement doesn't change the plan of that. Because that we don't even know if it's like when and everything like that. However, let's discuss it. So Sunju announced that there will be a new Storm game coming out potentially next year. There was a huge interview with Q1, Playco, and some other people and questioning Sinju. Um, and other people have made videos about it. So I guess it's time for someone over on this side to make a video about it. That is huge. That's huge because it's most likely not going to be a Shippuden Storm game. It's most likely going to be a Boruto Storm game since that's the most current Naruto related series that is out right now. So that means we can get Boruto characters, which that would definitely change some of the ball game. That means that we could go completely back like we did in Generations. We could do a lot of things, and what I mean by that is one thing people need to realize is, like Sinju said, and it was a good point of view, and because there is a lot of newer players, they don't understand this. Each Storm game has its own identity. It really does. Storm 2, you couldn't sub, you couldn't dash cancel, you couldn't cancel, really. It was a very, it was a very zoning game. Generations, it is where you got introduced to canceling, where you got introduced to the sub. Logs, where you got introduced to um, a lot more characters. And no more exclusives like Storm 2 had Lars, if anyone remembers Lars. Oh man, I remember Lars. God, please bring that back. Um, Storm 3 had the, oh god, Infinite Awakenings. Yeah, Infinite Awakenings. I can't remember. And had the delays. Rev had its Celestians and variations, and now we're at Storm 4, which switched tech. So the next Storm game is not going to be like Switch Tech or anything. So that's one thing people are going to have to realize a little bit. It will not be anything like Storm. I mean, it could be like Storm 4, but it most likely will be nothing like Storm 4. It will most likely be its own game and an identity, just like the rest of the Naruto games. Um, let's talk about some other things that was said in the interview. So Senju stated that during the team, there was two teams in CZ2. One team was making Demon Slayer while the other team is working on the Storm game. I don't know. Um, here's the thing. Senju is not known to lie. Senju, you can even tell the interview. He was very very tipsy. He was like, he really wanted us to know more. You know what I mean? Like he really wanted us to know everything that he knew, but he can't. He can't say everything. You know what I mean? And I understand. Um, and here's the thing. This isn't 100% confirmed either. This is just Senju saying. Now Senju does have connections, so uh, that's kind of like where I'm at. Is Senju's not known for lying. Senju is pretty reliable source, um, and so before we continue on this interview, I do want to put out some facts there. Senju is known for his connections. Senju does have credibility, and Senju is not known for lying. He's always been honest. He's always been truthful with us, so he is credible. So let's go on the rest of the interview. I'm not gonna play it just because it's copyright, duh. And I also I'm using Share Factory. Okay, it's a shitty editing software. I don't feel like going on PC and doing all that stuff. Um, so let's begin with the rest. So um, Q1 asks if it's going to be played in the same system. Um, Same way. Most likely, they don't know what they're going to do. They don't know if they're going to keep it the same or not. Mm, they're most likely not. Like I said, every Naruto game is different, and they like to change things a lot between every Naruto game. So they most likely 100% will change it. Um, this was a interesting interview. Um, let's go on the what I said earlier before I cut myself off on the team thing, where they have two separate teams working on it. That could be very possible. That does make a lot of sense. A lot of corporations, a lot of teams uh, do uh, do it working. You know, perfect example would be like Injustice and Mortal Kombat from NRS. That would be a really good, like, perfect example where they tend to work simultaneously on both of those games. Um, and there's plenty of other games that do that too. So that's a pretty great example. I also want to mention that later on, Senju really highlighted, which I never thought about too. Uh, CC2 is just the middleman. You know, they're just working. You know, the big guys are the Bandai people, right? Those are the people that we really need to be notifying and talking to, etc. And I do agree. I never really voiced my opinion out on CC2 or Bandai much, because I really just don't know how to. Trust me, if you know I could, I would, but I just, it's never crossed my mind. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, that does make sense. So we can't really blame CZ2 on some things. I can on a lot of things though. Like, okay, let's go on the logic with the two teams. Demon Slayer is a shit game. Like, I don't under like, I know they've updated it and it's a little better. I've seen updated gameplay. I've seen Q1's gameplay of it, and I've seen others, but I still see quite a bit the same problems as launch did in October. And the point is the game still should have been more than what it still is, right? Um, and they I don't care about caricatures. Like, these people care about I don't care about that. I care about, like, the gameplay and the mechanics and stuff like that. But I forget what type of community I'm talking about. Um. So yeah, I don't think that would be a good idea, because if we look at what Demon Slayer looks like now, and then we go to a new Storm series with a different team, is that new Storm series gonna be even good? Is it gonna be worth it? Like, that's kind of like where I'm at right now. And is it, like I said, is it gonna be backwards compatible? Is it gonna be PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5? And if so, will PlayStation 4 be, not, I would say on par, because obviously it's not going to be, but would you still be able to play it online, like Storm, like the PlayStation 5? Because that was the problem with Demon Slayer, because the PlayStation 5 had really good online and has no problems, but then you go PlayStation 4 and it does. So that's like, I'm just, I don't know. I'm a little curious on that. I'm a little skeptical on them not fully working on, like, Demon Slayer and then fully working on Storm. I would rather them take their time, because they took 4 years. They've been making this Demon Slayer game since 2017. That's been season two announces back in, or Sinju announces back in 2017, and then it was fully announced in 2019, and they still fucked up. So um, I don't know. I don't know. I'm a little skeptical. I have every right to be. So what else was said in the interview? Q1. Oh, this one is a very interesting question. Is this game more directed for players? So this is not Q1, this is Playco, but this is still in the same stream. Um, is it going to be queued for more of the players or the competitive? And Senju said it is going to be competitive for everyone. System. I didn't mean to say system. I meant engine earlier. My bad. I don't know why I said system. I just now realized I said system. So my apologies. My notes. Anyways, um, it's going to be competitive for everyone. um, that's going to be interesting. What do they mean by that? How are you going to do that? And I hate to point it out, but I am a kind of the puppet community guy. What about the puppets? Because that's kind of like the one of the hardest mechanics in Naruto history to balance. And if it's going to be competitive for everyone, then you got to make it like Rev, right? Because let's just be honest, Rev is the most balanced competitive Naruto game out of all the Naruto games. So how 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 do you balance like puppets? And then how would you balance long range characters? Because I think long range characters were best in. I mean, I really do think in Generations, but in Storm 3. Um, so how there's those two questions just from characters alone because like what about like um the history of the some of the broken characters that have the history of just being broken, just not being fixed. You know what I mean? Like Neji's always been stupid. Kakashi's always been stupid. It's S3 Kakashi for damn sakes. Um, I don't see them making the same mistakes like they did in Storm 4. Like obviously, if they bring Kagura, they're not gonna. I don't see them bringing a lot of it, a break fucking shit back. But like, are they gonna bring back the counter system like they did in Rev? Or are they gonna add a completely new uh, mechanic? Competitive for everyone that's very vague, and I understand what he means, or not. I understand why he's being vague, but just saying. I don't know. That's not a good answer. It's not really a concrete answer for how much Naruto has a history of being buggy and flat out stupid, and some characters or some metas being like obviously more broken than others. Like for example, you have Generations. Generations, was a PTS Conqueror meta. Like literally, PTS Conqueror was Generations. Like if you weren't using like the only way you could beat a PTS Conqueror was a PTS Conqueror in Generations, right? Um, but in Generations, you also had Masked Man, you had Donzo, you had Tsuchikage, you had Sasori, um, you had Minato. If PTS Conqueror wasn't used, it was still a very interesting meta that was just very spam heavy, right? Um, and then you go to Storm 3, which was. I mean, Nagato was broken, but I remember Hanzo being more broken, but that's just because during the heyday of Xbox. But you had Hanzo, Kona, Minato, Nagato. Um, that's a complete. You didn't really have people using puppets, and when they did, they just pretty much relied on the Awakening the most. Um, Even though that was Shio's best game and puppets were stupid broken still in the game, that Storm 3 wasn't really a puppet meta game, right? And that's what I mean. It's just like it just every game has its own quirks and meta, and I'm just it's interesting. Um, are there? Hold up. So I think that's basically what I really wanted to cover. If I'm gonna go back on the video, so let me go back on the video quick, because that's all I got on my notes. Um, why is the game being announced now? Honestly, that's a very interesting question because if you look at the track record of the Naruto Storm games, you have Generations that came out, I think, like 2010, I believe, if not 2011, 2012. You have Storm 3 that came out in late 2012, early 2013. You have Rev that came out in 2015 of August, I believe. And then you have Storm 4 that came out February of 2016. So it's been damn near almost 7 years, because they're not going to release anything in this game. Out of anything, they're kind of probably going to announce it and make it confirmed now that Senju's allowed to talk about it. Because that tends how it happened. But we might not get the game for another year or two. So the fact that the game pretty much won't be out for another 7 or 8 years until the last title is absolutely crazy to me. So I really do hope that they make this game good. I really hope, and I hope the characters they add are pretty redundant, or not redundant, redundant. You know what I mean? Because this is Boruto plus Naruto, so you're gonna have like Naruto old characters. I don't see why they don't add them because you still have Naruto characters in Boruto, and then you're gonna have new Boruto characters. So for us like puppet users, you're gonna have Shinki. He's a puppet user. I know a lot of people think he's not, but literally it's in not only movies but it's canon. It's literally my profile picture on this YouTube channel. It's Shinki with his puppet. Ataro. Um, he's one of the Sand siblings too. He was the one that used himself as a puppet during Sarada's training exams. He's a puppet user. You have this doll, creepy ghost girl, ghost Pokemon, Hex Girl. That's I don't know what team they are. I don't remember, but they're in Leaf Village. But she has like a doll. You're gonna add Teneri. He's not an official puppet user, but he does use puppets. But you have Teneri. That's gonna be a very interesting character to add. And is he gonna play a lot like, the Fighting Fist style like Neji and Hinata, or is he gonna be like more slow but hard hitting like Kagura and the other Atsuki stupid motherfuckers that are trash? Um, I think that's all I really have to say about this interview. I kind of want to talk about now all of it, like, kind of like my true opinion, or in like a summary. So essentially, we have a potential new Storm game coming out. It most likely would not be Shippuden. It would be most likely a Baruto Storm game. It would most likely be out within a year or two. We may have an announcement, like in a confirm. I'm sorry, so I need to confirm. Um, we have no idea if it's gonna be built on the same engine or not as Storm 4, which most likely it will not, because they change it every day. The roster of the game, which once again that's gonna be all the Baruto, and then finally, is it gonna be competitive and how it's gonna be competitive, and it's gonna be competitive vaguely for everyone. Definitely interested. Definitely interested. So, folks, let's. I want to go on now my personal opinion about all this. Now that we summarized and talked about what's going on. Um, so let's discuss on the. I'm more excited on the roster. I know I was talking about earlier about who cares about characters and stuff, but um, I especially am. I know a lot of people are tired of using the same puppets, especially me, who has literally been using the same four puppets for years. Um, it's definitely gonna be very exciting to have at least two to at least four new puppet users in the game. It's definitely gonna be very exciting how puppets will play because I hmm I obviously love how puppets kind of play in Storm 4, right? Like, I just the Storm 4 is so stupid and broken against puppets that it's unfair. But how puppets play, I really do like, right? I like how you can dash. I like how you can play as normal characters, but you can still have a semi puppet style to them. Compared to like when I play Generations and Storm 3, where they're more shuriken and defensive heavy. Rev, they were like normal characters, but I didn't. I liked them in Rev, but not like Storm 4. Storm 4 puppets kind of has like this fluidity to it that I really like and I really enjoy. And I hope they keep that. I do hope they do fix. I hope they fix some things. Obviously, I think the main things I would like to be fixed for puppets in a general mechanic sense is their hitboxes. There's no reason for their hitboxes to be so garbage like they are now. I don't mind their puppet being picked up or not, or being knocked down like they are now frequently. Because the main reason why they're knocked down so much is because of Switch Tech. So if the new Storm game isn't Switch Tech, which is going to be a very high likely chance just because every Storm game is different, and I don't see them adding Switch Check again. I see them adding the basic and general mechanics, but I don't see them adding Switch Check because that is Storm 4. Storm 4, that's its own identity, is a Switch Check. You know, like Storm 3 with infinites and the delay, Rev with the variations, etc., etc. Um, Storm 4 is Switch Tech, so I don't see them adding Switch Tech. I see them adding a new mechanic. And that being said, for us puppet users, that can be very exciting because a new mechanic that is not Switch Tech can absolutely bring puppets back to the meta because that's what really killed puppets is Switch Tech. Switch Tech really is the definition of anti-puppet. Um, and yes, Switch Tech can work for puppets, but that's not the point. I'm not talking about, oh yeah, but you could use it to your advantage. I'm not talking about that. That's a whole other point in the story. My point is, as a puppet gameplay, puppets are completely anti by Switch Tech. Um, Everything that puppets want to do, the gimmicks, the small damage, the tricks, Switch Tech can easily get around that and more. Furthermore, Switch Tech um, can camera angle, and that is literally the puppet. Like I was losing to a kid. I'll admit, I was losing to a guy named Disgrace. Okay, I was losing to him, and he was just purely camera angling. That's the only way he could beat me, and that's the only way that people can win most of the time against puppets is because they have to camera angle heavy, and puppets. That's the number one weakness of puppets is camera angling. Well, I don't know. Awakenings are pretty stupid in this game too. So yeah, that's if they take away Awakening, that's definitely a high possibility that puppets will become high meta again because they've always been somewhat in the meta, at least on Xbox side. Um, so it's definitely going to be very fascinating. And if so, which puppets would most likely be top tier? Well, if we're going to have to guess, we really don't know much about Storm 5 puppet mechanics yet. Or, but we, if I have to take a guess from our history, because if you go to Storm 2, it was Sorcery. Generations, it was PTS Conqueror. Shio, Shio's best game was Storm 3, but Sorcery Awakening was pretty stupid, though. So I don't know. A lot of people didn't explore Shio and didn't know Shio like I did in Storm 3 also. So there was that. And then Rev was kind of a mixture of like all of them. And then Storm 4 is obviously Order Conqueror. So there's kind of been a pattern in a way if you notice it and look back on it. And that being said, I think it's going to be one of the newer puppets. If I'm going to have to guess, it would definitely be Shinki. Shinki has Iron Sand with his puppet, and I don't know. That's kind of like where I'm at. If they like, let's talk about the new puppets. If they add those, right? If they had Shinki, would they add him using his puppet, or would they add him using just his Iron Sand and make him long range, right? Because Archer would definitely use puppets, um, and I'm curious how that would work, right? Because it's himself. So how would that? Oh, that's just so fascinating. That's so fast. It's such a world of endless possibilities that I hope Senju is not only correct on, but I hope Bandai and CC2 don't fuck up this because this is a big deal, right? Because we've been waiting for years, we've been begging for fixes, we've been begging for changes. This is huge for us. And now, finally, let's talk about the last thing. Will I be coming back? I don't know. Like, if they do announce it, and if PlayStation, like, if they make it for PS5, because I'm not going back to PS4. I'm gonna wait for the game to come out, and then I'll wait probably like 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks after the game comes out. And if someone tells, like, I want info before I blindly buy a console and then go buy a game. Like, I'm not saying I'm buying a console just for one game, but I will be most likely playing that one game. Because let's just be honest, a lot of us Naruto players just play Naruto all day. So I most likely will be getting that console for one game. So I wanna know if it's gonna be worth it, right? So I'm not gonna say I'm gonna come back, but it's a high possibility that I will be fully coming back, if they do make a Storm game, because I mean everyone needs a puppet teacher, and I don't see myself leaving that like if they make a new Swarm game. But like for here, there's just no reason for me to stay. Okay, like everything's been exploded. There's so many great puppet masters. There's so much going on, right? And there's plenty of info online. There's plenty of fights. There's plenty of quality for Storm 4. So, well, that's all I'm gonna say. Hey, Saucery, you saw what I just did there with Saucery? Yeah. See, there's a video. Hey, and I've uploaded this fight before. Anyways, I love you. All right, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and stay tuned for the next few videos because they're gonna be exciting.